So we have a deal in regards to funding the government at least past the election. Now, what's the deal? Well, it is a bipartisan agreed upon deal that would keep spending basically at current levels. It has enough support to pass. There are some minor tweaks, and now what are those tweaks? Well, there's going to be increased money for Secret Service. That is to help protect presidential candidates, including Donald Trump. And then there is additional funding for federal disaster relief, as well as additional funding leading into the transfer of power set for January 20th when the new administration takes over. And this is to help get things going ahead of time, hire people on, get them trained, do whatever they need to do, whether that's investigate any serious threats, whatever they need to do, that they can get the ball rolling starting now to do things in advance of that so we're not waiting. Now, this only kicks the can down the road to just middle of December. Now, is there going to be a shutdown in December? I don't know. That depends on a couple things. It could depend on how bad the election goes. If it goes as bad as I think it will for Republicans and they lose the House and don't flip the Senate, they may try to put up a bigger fight because they know they won't have any sort of power in either chamber after January 3rd when the new Congress takes over. But the other thing they could be doing is looking at it going, well, that's right before Christmas, and even though the election's over, people will remember if they voted against things going into Christmas. So we'll see what happens. It is entirely possible that they just kick the funding of the government again down the road another 3 to 6 months at that point, and then let the new Congress take care of it. But there's something bigger about this that we need to consider as well. Donald Trump called for the government to get shut down because he wanted the SAVE Act attached to this. That was that bill I've talked about several times that would require proving proof of citizenship in order to vote or to register to vote. And Donald Trump kept saying we need to shut the government down because he thought the shutdown would be blamed on the Biden-Harris administration and Vice President Harris in her attempt to win the White House. And House Republicans and even some Republican senators said, no, this is a dumb idea. And ultimately, they have reached a bipartisan deal to fund the government without the SAVE Act. And they are not listening to Donald Trump in regards to shutting down the government. And I think that's kind of the bigger part of this story here. We know Donald Trump was losing parts of his party as key Republicans have started to endorse Kamala Harris, speaking out against Donald Trump, saying they're not voting for him or they are endorsing Kamala Harris or what have you. And now you have sitting members of Congress not listening to the head of the Republican Party, their presidential nominee, as he's calling for stuff. Now, granted, what he's calling for is completely ridiculous, but that just shows that his hold on the Republican Party is starting to fall and that they're not listening to him as much anymore, which means his role as president might not be as they may push back if he were the president. But again, I don't want to take that chance. We need to elect Vice President Kamala Harris and give her a favorable Congress. But it just shows that he is much weaker than he was in 2016 or even 2020.